There's a lot of these statements that data is the new oil, right? And it is definitely a new oil as far as this urban mobility. Very nice lead, for me to cover. So I had some thoughts, but I'm going to kind of reframe based on what I've heard so far, Sudhindra. So the first thing I would like to say is that patents, protecting your patents, which is your innovation and designs, is so critical for the investors as well. I mean, Sonia spoke about investors looking at clean tech, but one thing the investors also are looking at is, how much of IP assets that you've created. And, I think I will look at three things now. If you look at the mobility space, where are the three main areas, which are the three main areas where a lot of patents are being filed around the world, right? So one is the electrification space, and we spoke a lot about this electrification. The second is connected and autonomous, vehicle. So that's the second space where a lot of filings are happening. And the third one is the mobility as a service, right? So this is kind of an indication on what different mobility companies are doing. Another thing that Naveen actually touched upon, which I would like to add here, is you'll be surprised to know that most of these innovations are being done by non-auto companies, right? The traditional auto companies are doing that much lesser than the new. I mean, we saw this happening with cameras. We saw this happening with electronics. But now we are seeing that in the automotive space. So a lot of patents are being filed. The other point that of observation is guess which country most number of patents are being filed. And in all these three areas that I spoke about, electrification, autonomous, and mobility, it's China, right? They are filing close to half the patents around the world, and then followed by US, Canada, and few countries. And India is really lagging behind. Okay, we are actually in the end, in the last in this. So I think I would also like to say, I mean, especially when I looked at Anjan's the green designs, some of the ideas that are built into this two-wheeler, a simple thing is carrying two helmets, which is such a novel idea. These kind of things have to be protected. Otherwise you will keep seeing so many other vehicles coming right in front of you. So another important factor for an entrepreneur is to know that if you don't protect your innovation in different countries, then your entry to that country becomes that much more difficult, right? So the fact that there is so much less innovation being protected in India, means that it's still an open space. And I think all of them, are looking at collaborating, right? So where does it lead us to is something that we need to see. But from an overall perspective, I still see that automotive or the mobility space is more a collaboration space right now. I think people are looking at each other's innovation and fast tracking it rather than reinvent again. And you also said what kind of other assets gets created. Data is going to be an very important piece in this entire new age 4.0 or whatever we can call it, because I even said that there's a lot of these statements that data is the new oil, right? And it is definitely a new oil as far as this urban mobility is concerned. So who are the different players? What kind of data do we need? How do we protect this data? How do we give data for a governance purpose? In fact, I saw one question, in terms of governance and how do we, the infrastructure part. I mean, you see today, when someone is driving a rented car or a shared car, they don't care about it. They, in fact, because they know that it doesn't belong to them, they can even hit you and they can just park and walk away, right? So how do you use data? How do you circle back this data to to the government, so that we create a very healthy infrastructure and a better living is another important thing. So with that, I think these are some of the trends that we are seeing. I mean, one trend, not too much of innovation happening in India, which is also people are not filing so much. So we need to be a little bit conscious about that. The other part is, with the data that we collect, how do we protect that data?